Alright, so I quickly want to discuss an anti-gun argument I've been hearing a lot of lately. And if you're pro-gun, you've probably heard this argument as well. That argument basically being that mass shootings are on the rise, that mass shootings are happening more frequently, and that if you're pro-gun and you don't see that guns are the problem, well, then you just want children to die in school. Now, we've all heard these arguments, and most of the time what I hear from people who are pro-gun as far as how to defend against that argument is something along the lines of, well, media being what it is today, and the internet being a thing that didn't used to exist, it just appears that these things are happening more often. They aren't really. It's just there's more coverage on these events, and more people all across the country hear about it when something happens as opposed to 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. And that makes sense, right? I mean, it seems logical, except for the fact that it's not true. Statistically speaking, mass shootings are happening more frequently, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, than they ever have in the history of our country. But the problem with that fact is that it doesn't prove the anti-gunner's argument. In fact, it proves the pro-gun side of the argument. And I'll explain to you why. To understand, you have to go back to what was, statistically speaking, the most violent time in our history as a nation when it comes to gun violence. And by gun violence, I mean everything, whether it's just somebody mugging somebody or somebody killing somebody with a firearm. And that was the early 1990s. That was when we hit our peak of gun violence. At that very same time, we also had an estimated 180 million guns in the country, and about 1 in 4 people was a gun owner. Now, fast forward more than 20 years later to today, those gun violence rates across the board, every type of gun violence, has been cut in half. And they estimate we have about 350 million guns in the country, and 1 in 3 people is a gun owner. So right off the bat, we know more guns do not equal more violence. But what about mass shootings? Why are mass shootings going up? Well, quite honestly, it boils down to 2 things. 1, gun-free zones. We're leaving people defenseless. They are literally sitting there in a shooting range, ready to be taken out. And 2, the media makes people infamous for committing horrible, atrocious acts. You add those 2 things together, and people who are mentally ill and seeking some sort of infamy are automatically going to go to the place where they can commit this act and gain the infamy and the fame that they so desire. So the next time you're having a discussion with somebody who's anti-gun and they say, well, no, mass shootings are on the rise, they're happening more frequently, guns are evil, simply explain this to them. Explain the gun violence rates in this country, explain the gun ownership in this country, and explain that our country is allowing gun-free zones to turn into shooting ranges and allowing people, deranged individuals, to seek infamy through the media. It's just that simple.